Hafide, and thank you for joining us. You're watching PNC News First. We are live from the Broadcast Center in Akanta. I'm Jolene Toves.
And I'm Clint Virgil. Thanks for tuning in. Topping your news first tonight, at least two fifth-grade Weddingale Elementary School students were rushed to the hospital today after they collapsed from being forced to stand outside in the blistering sun for over an hour without water. One of the students' grandmother, Deborah Duenas, says she was told that an entire fifth-grade class was forced to stand outside in the sun, possibly for punishment. Duenas' grandson was rushed to the emergency room of GRMC with severe dehydration. Duenas was told that the school nurse found the students in the sun, and the school principal is investigating and interviewing teachers. We spoke with Duenas' daughter, Cassidy Brewer, the mother of one of the fifth-grade students.
When I finally got my son to talk, he had told me that the fifth graders were all being punished for one class not listening. I'm not exactly sure on the exact details of that, but they were in the sun, he says, about 40 minutes with no bathroom or water breaks, and yeah, he just got overheated and he threw up a few times. He said another kid was actually on the ground. You know, so it was really disturbing. It was just seeing him like that. It was really shocking. His eyes were like bloodshot, and he was like hyperventilating, and yeah. So I freaked out at first, and then I got just really upset when I found out the reason behind it. I just couldn't believe that the teachers would actually punish them in that way.
Guam Department of Education Superintendent John Fernandez has confirmed that they did receive a complaint about this from the Weddingale School, and he says they are launching an investigation into the matter. However, he could not provide any other details at this time.
The Guam Department of Education last night went before the Board of Education to announce they've come to a point of needing to plan for even deeper cuts to make it through the end of the fiscal year. As Melissa Leon Guerrero reports, Education Superintendent John Fernandez told the board that the measures they put into place in phase 2 of their budget cuts just weren't enough.
Superintendent John Fernandez read a letter to the board officially requesting that he get the ball rolling on the furlough process. Fernandez pointed out all the austerity measures he's put into place thus far. In Phase 1, foregoing spending, saving the department $12.1 million. In Phase 2, reducing the reliance on on-call substitutes and extending the hiring freeze to the school level and not filling vacancies, saving the department $2.8 million. Putting Phase 3 into play would save the department $5 million, and in this case, the third cut is the deepest.
And at this point, as we understand it, having gone through all the identifiable and continued reductions to our budget and our operations, we are asking that the board give the authorization to initiate the furlough process. Based on our rules and regulations, that requires us to issue a 90-day general notice to all employees before we can implement.
Fernandez says because of where we are in the school year, he wanted to start the 90-day clock so as to implement a furlough and achieve the cost savings associated with it. Fernandez also said they'd like to delay the start of the 2018-2019 school year to October 1st. The furlough would be in effect for all Department of Education employees, regardless of their funding source, not to exceed a period of 1 year upon initiation of the furlough. Fernandez says these measures would only go into effect if nothing is done to address the department's anticipated cash crisis. For PNC News, I'm Melissa Leon Guerrero.
And the island-wide Board of Governing Students wanted to give voice to the students who would be affected by those cuts in the Department of Education. This afternoon, students, parents, and administrators went to the Guam Congress building, where they met with Senators Joe San Agustin, Will Castro, Regine Bisco-Lee, and Therese Terlahi. The call to lend their voices to the budget conversation came at last night's Guam Education Board meeting, where Student Representative Luke Bukikosa gave an impassioned plea to all those present to join them this afternoon.
I'm asking that you, and like they said, your children, we're not trying to take advantage of your children, but your children are at stake. We are at stake. Your future leaders are at stake. I'm asking that you come and you voice your opinion.
And about 60 students, parents, and teachers, Education Board Chair Mark Mendiola and Education Superintendent John Fernandez attended this afternoon's impromptu meeting with lawmakers.
The credit rating agency Moodys has changed the outlook for GovGuam's and GWA's ratings to negative. Moodys says this change was triggered by the financial crisis facing the island. PNC's Janela Carrera reports.
The change in the outlook comes amid a fiscal crisis facing the island as lawmakers are scrambling to pass legislation to address a gaping $67 million hole brought on by the Trump tax cuts. In its rating action, Moodys says the outlook is, quote, reflecting the possibility that its financial and liquidity positions could weaken further if timely, sufficient action isn't taken to address the general fund revenue shortfall and restore long-term financial stability, or if that revenue shortfall is greater than projected, end quote. In fact, the report cites the government's inaction in, quote, tax increases needed to close the budget gap completely, end quote. Governor Calvo was on News Talk K57 with host Patty Arroyo this morning.
Again, it's disappointing with Moody's credit watch. But again, this is what happens when we have inaction. There's a fiscal crisis that has hit us, and it's just so important that the legislature act, because the rest of the world will act already.
So far, it's only the government of Guam and the Guam Waterworks Authority that received the negative outlook, but Moodys indicates that it serves as a reference point for other revenue bonds for the Guam Power Authority and the Guam International Airport Authority. While the report illustrates a possible downturn in the island's standing for bondholders, Moodys also recognizes that Guam has had positive economic trends and a good economic outlook.
Interesting that what Moody's mentioned, the fundamentals of our economy are strong, and with that, the underpinnings for recovery for this government are there.
The negative rating outlook comes a week after Standard & Poor's placed GovGuam on credit watch with negative implications for its general obligation and lease bond ratings for the same reason. Guam Waterworks Authority also received a negative rating from Moody's on its Baa2 rated water and wastewater system revenue bonds. This change affects about $500 million in outstanding bonds. Moodys says it's in conjunction with a change in outlook for GovGuam as a whole.
Senators concluded discussions on the 2% tax increase bill this morning, and they will vote on the measure this Friday at 2 p.m. The bill's author, Senator Joe San Agustin, says that as of right now, he believes he has the votes to pass the measure. The bill has been changed significantly via various amendments that have been added throughout the course of the session. So today, we take a look at what exactly is in the bill and what lawmakers will be voting on come Friday. Do you think your bill has the votes to pass it on Friday?
Yes, sir. I honestly believe I have enough votes. I hope that it stays there. I think we have, if not 8, 9 votes.
Lawmakers finished discussions on Senator Joe San Agustin's Bill 248. The measure started out as a simple 2% sales tax across the board. But after adding 12 amendments, the bill will need to be engrossed, which means each amendment will need to be added into the bill so that it reads as one consistent piece of legislation rather than a piecemeal of amendments. Because there are so many amendments, some of which are complicated, Speaker BJ Cruz announced that it'll take until Friday at 2 p.m. to engross. So what's in the bill? A major amendment was one introduced by Senator Tommy Morrison to start out first with a 1% business privilege tax that would begin on April 1st and last until September 30. Then on October 1st, the 2% sales tax would kick in.
Well, number one, the BBT increase could happen as soon as it was as identified in the amendment, 1 April, 1%. That brings in 30 million. As soon as the sales tax comes in, it'll offset that, and because it will start the new fiscal year, it'll bring in about $60+ million.
Originally, the bill would have generated an estimated $120 to $130 million a year. However, an amendment was added excluding some things from the sales tax.
You have to remember that the bill originally started with everybody getting sales tax. So what was excluded, because Senator Snickers brought it in, the bankings and the insurance folks are excluded.
This changed the estimated amount of revenue that would be generated to about $60 million a year. This is less than the estimated $100 million shortfall expected for next fiscal year. Senator San Augustine says this will force the government to reduce spending. In fact, another major change to the bill was Senator Frank Hogan Jr.'s amendment that makes it easier for the governor to cut costs by reorganizing GovGuam. Then there is Senator Mike San Nicolas's amendment that requires the enactment of a fiscal realignment plan to cut $30 million in spending before the tax raises take effect. Senator Tom Atta amended this again, requiring the governor to submit a cost-cutting plan before the tax raises take effect. Senator Frank Hogan Jr. opposed this, saying it doesn't guarantee that anyone will make $30 million in cuts.
So in my opinion, let's not try to pull a fast one over our people. And I say in my opinion, because
point of personal privilege, Mr. Chairman. Nobody is trying to pull a fast one.
All of a sudden, the BBT tax is going to increase from 4% to 5% with no real commitment of budgetary reduction, cost reduction for this government.
Nevertheless, Senator San Augustine feels that his bill is a good compromise that raises revenues, but not to the level the administration wanted, which he says will force GovGuam to make cuts.
Nobody's going to get their cake and eat it, or they got to shave off the icing.
Senators recess today until Friday at 2 p.m. to vote on the tax-raising measure.
A man is behind bars after he allegedly assaulted his girlfriend several times over the course of a day. But according to the man, the injuries she sustained were not caused by him, but by the Tautamona. The quote, Tatamona gave her the bruises. She is crazy. Explicit, that explicit. When it comes to family violence, you guys believe the chicks, end quote. That is what David Anthony Juanico allegedly told police officers when they arrived to his home in response to a disturbance on March 12. According to court documents, Juanico began assaulting his girlfriend, Deshani Jerica Santos, at around 1:30 in the afternoon, accusing her of cheating. During this incident, Juanico allegedly began punching her on her right arm as she was driving to a store in Agate. The victim told police that she attempted to call 911, but Juanico took her phone and threw it on the floorboard. The complaint states that the victim then pulled into a residence and began honking her horn in an attempt to gain someone's attention. It was then a female individual approached the vehicle. The victim asked her to contact the police. In response, Juanico allegedly told the female, quote, you better not call the police, end quote. It is alleged that Juanico then drove the victim to a residence in Tamuning, where they spoke and, quote, everything was fine, end quote. But it appears that was only temporary, as the complaint states that several hours later, when Santos arrived home to drop food to Juanico, once again he began accusing her of cheating. He again pushed her into the passenger seat, and she stuck her head out the window screaming for help as they drove away. According to police, Juanico took the victim to an area on Cross Island Road where they spoke before heading home. Once home, court documents state that Juanico became upset once again, this time over a missing ice pipe. The victim told police that he had ordered her to find his ice pipe, but she refused. This angered Juanico, who allegedly began threatening the victim, stating, quote, I'm going to explicit kill you. You better look for it, end quote. It was then that GPD officers arrived at the home, where they noted bruises on the victim's upper left back and forearm and shattered glass in the vehicle. But according to court documents, Juanico denied assaulting his girlfriend, blaming the bruising on the Tautamona. According to the court complaint, Juanico was found in the possession of methamphetamine and attempted to bribe the officers into letting him go. He has been charged with possession of a Schedule II controlled substance, strangulation, interfering with the reporting of family violence, felonious restraint, assault, family violence, criminal mischief, and obstruction of government operations relative to bribery. Santos was also charged with hindering apprehension, as she initially denied the assault in an attempt to keep her boyfriend from going to jail. You can read more online at pacificnewscenter.com.
There may be more than one trial in the case involving the murder of DOC detainee Manson Ernest. There are 7 DOC detainees implicated in the death of fellow detainee Manson Ernest. They are Albert Santos Jr., Marvin Retcham, Jimmy Hadley, Isler Miller, Alast Cimarron, Andrew Rios Jr., and Benster Benjamin. 6 of the men are charged with murder, aggravated assault, and manslaughter, while Rios faces criminal sexual conduct charges. As of today, trial has been set for April 13th, but whether or not Rios and Benjamin will be tried along with the other defendants will depend on how the court rules on their joint motion to sever. Rios has also filed a motion to dismiss. All motions before the court will be heard on April 9th.
An audit of the Guam Football Association for years 2012 through 2016 appears to spell out corruption. Performed at the request of officials because of the recent scandal surrounding former GFA president Richard Lai, who last year pleaded guilty to bribery charges, was ordered to pay over $1 million in penalties, and was blacklisted from FIFA for life. The audit says 4 projects within GFA were awarded to close relatives or acquaintances, which, quote, did not follow the FIFA or AFC Code of Ethics. Compounding the problem even further, the projects were not subject to bid or procurement. As part of the audit, the Department of Parks and Recreation was cited for not signing an MOU with GFA for the use of the Northern Soccer Stadium, and as a result, the public was not aware that it was available for use. Another finding in the audit, $400,000 provided by the Guam Visitors Bureau was not properly accounted for.
That's it for News First from all of us here at PNC. Thanks for watching. Stay Maulig.
And have a great night.